Peace, family. I was doing some research on W.E.B. Du Bois, and he was talking about double consciousness. And it's when you have to have an awareness of yourself and awareness of how white dominant society views you. So it's an extra pair of eyes that each black person has to have as they move throughout the world. It's an extra awareness that we have to keep up. It's an extra charge of battery that we have to make sure that we're aware of at all times. And it's something that hasn't went away. Right. For me, I feel like I have a triple consciousness because it's not only that, it's how they view me as a black Muslim man, right? Being in America and having a platform and having influence, and people are always walking up to me and asking me, how does it feel to be in position? How does it feel, to do something that they quote unquote to consider to be dangerous? And for me, it's normal. But at the same time, that's because my baseline of having this triple consciousness at all times, understanding that what I'm doing is not completely aligned, right, with the powers that be, which lets me know that what am I doing is aligned with my higher self and what I'm supposed to be doing in this world, which is creating impact and change. One would think that if you start the journey of creating impact and change, that everyone would support that. Everyone would, call you and offer you financial, mental, spiritual, and physical assistance rather. But that's naivety to think so because we're not a one race. We are multiple ethnicities within America, right? As we fight through these different wars and struggles from our self wars, from the financial wars, the spiritual wars, the culture wars, the media wars, right? It's almost as if we never really get a day of peace. And we distract ourselves because we constantly reminded that I have to be a soldier or a warrior, right? Then I have to be a black man. Then I have to go about this world creating some sort of legacy. And that's if you're one of those people that decided to make the choice that I want to be great. Today, I'm talking with somebody who I believe dares to be great, that mundane does not fit them, right? That I'm not going to sit here and just make a podcast and we just going to be sitting here having a conversation and it's just cool and we talk about the things that everybody else talk about and we just go about life the way everybody else does. Is no, I see myself higher. I see myself at another level. I see myself to where I'm around the world. I'm a global communicator. I'm a global change maker. I'm a global impactor. And not only that, I'm multidimensional. So the boxes that you want to put me in, I'm aware of that, but I won't fit in those boxes, right? Because I've already outgrown them by the time you tried to measure me. So there's even another consciousness that we have as black people is how other black people view us as well and view success. Because once you go from, yeah, you a black man to you a successful black man, you enter a whole nother class and you're viewed from a different lens of perspective. And all of this can be a little tiring. All of this could be a lot to keep up with. And sometimes it can discourage you on your path and on your journey. So as I talk to someone who's, y'all know, he's been here before, right? He's somebody that I partner with along the journey and I respect because I was telling my brother Amechi Okachukwu, hit him with the Nigerian name. I was telling him, I said, I gotta respect the people who rock with me because there's a lot of people who just watch me and they won't work with me. And not because they don't respect me, it's because they don't know if I'm safe enough. And I don't respect that. So they say, I'm watching you, Keys. And I say, I know you watching. You know what I'm saying? Because you a bird. You feel me? But I'm in the field with the lions. So those who are part of my pack, they go ride with me. And my good brother Rashad Bilal has been rocking with me. And I know there's a lot of consciousness that you got to keep up with. You feel me? As you move throughout the world, as I move throughout the world, and as we partner and move and collaborate and work together. So first of all, I want to thank you for coming back on this platform. And I want to have a very deep, honest, real, revealing, revolutionary, world-changing, world-building conversation. How you feeling today?
Let's get it, man. Thank you, man. Long time coming. We did an episode a while ago. I think like when you first started High
Yeah.
Level. But was waiting to get back, and we doing a lot of press right now. We in the middle of Invest Fest, so one of the first platforms that we reached out to and asked if we could, possibly be on your show. So
Hmm.
thank you for opening the platform. I greatly
Yeah,
appreciate
I checked my wait list, and I made some room.
it.
I told him that you move some things around for the brothers, see if we could fit them in.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So I want to talk about what I first was going into, that double consciousness, right? You started off as a financial planner and built one of the biggest, if not the biggest, financial literacy platforms in the world. But as a black man, as you move through political spaces, as you move through the culture, whether you indictment or you in the White House, how does that double consciousness affect you, right? Because you have to be aware of how you see yourself and how the world sees you.
For sure. I mean, it's the thinnest slice strategy. That's what we call it. I know
Mm,
we was talking to Steve Stout one time, and he was like, when you black, you have to. It's what's called the thinnest slice strategy, right? Where you have to be edgy enough and relevant enough for the culture to rock with you and respect you, but you also have to be polished enough, and you have to be educated enough, and you have to be sophisticated, savvy, a variety of different things to cross over into the other world if
mm,
that's what you want to do.
mm-hmm,
You could just stay in culture, right? And that's cool. Or you can just completely leave culture and just go into outer space. But very few people have been able to navigate both worlds simultaneously.
mm,
Usually, what happens is that somebody becomes really big in culture, they blow up, and then what they're perceived as is crossing over, right?
mm-hmm.
Or now they're deemed as corny, out of touch, sold out, Illuminati members, variety of different things, right? So it's very difficult to walk both of those worlds because, sometimes you might go too far for your political friends. You might go too
Mhm.
far for,
Yeah.
your business connects or sometimes you might go too far for the culture. They might get disappointed at your move. They might say like they might not fully understand it, right? So for us, it's just a matter of just leading with a pure heart, and that's one thing that somebody told me wearing this Crenshaw shirt, shout out to the whole fam, but they said Nip. Somebody told me they was like the thing about Nip is that a lot of people didn't understand the things that he was doing. Like
Mhm.
everybody becomes a saint when they die, right? But they was like when he was alive, there was a lot of turmoil, like in his neighborhood, his homies, different people in LA, like they didn't fully understand moves he was making. But they said like he was always comfortable with not trying to explain himself. They're like, yo, they get it later if it's meant for them to
Mhm.
get. And now everybody got it. Everybody understood. Like, you know what I mean? But, at the time, him doing collaborations with YG, that's dangerous. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like those areas don't traditionally get along, right? Or him making a political stand saying F Donald Trump. That's not something that most rappers, rappers ain't really doing political
Mhm.
stances like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially a street rapper that has never even dropped an album really at that time. Like, he's risking his career. And just doing a bunch of different things. So that's one thing I just live by is like, you care about what people think, but ultimately, you know your heart, you know your intentions. So as long as your intentions are pure, your heart is good. If they don't understand your moves, then they're not meant to understand it, and they might understand it later on.
Yeah, I think that there's some power in them not being understood because it may mean you doing something that's big enough, right? If the crowd understands it, right, then you doing something to where you're following the crowd, right? And for me, I feel that all the time. You feel me? But I come in the game understanding that and knowing that. And that's where you gotta have all of these different layers of awareness of how everybody go view you, how you view yourself. Because it don't matter. You can have the best intentions in the world. You wake up every day, right? And you say, okay, let's get to work. I want to create some kind of impact, right? I want to feed my family, right? I want to be a black man who creates impact and change in the world. Which is funny because the more successful you are, the more judged you are, and you're only really judged because you're successful at what you're doing. Because everybody wakes up and try to do something, right? But if you don't build the platform, nobody cares, right? If you don't sell out the stadium, nobody cares. But the moment that you're successful, that's when the judgment comes. Because a jealous man is go view your success as part of their failure,
Mm.
right? They're going to blame you in some capacity for their lack of. If it wasn't for you and people like you, then I would be more successful. And now you're the reason I'm getting overlooked, right? From the bottom, that's the perspective, right? You can only see from your lens. And it's not till you go into more rooms, you're around more people, and you gain that exposure, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm hating on from a place of ignorance, not from a place of education, right? People who are well educated and understand exactly what you do when you do a tour, right? And they say, I know how much that costs, right? Like I know how much work that goes into it. They're not just looking at the results. They looking at, bro, they really just handled that whole process. That was a lot, right? They're looking at, man, your team must be doing a lot because how was they handling all these plannings, jumping back and forth, dealing with people, getting enough rest, being outside, right? Still being abreast to carry on this management. Like that's a lot of effort, work, money, energy that goes into that. And it also costs a lot, right? So I want to get into a little bit about, the cost of this whole operation, right? Like before we go to the financial, right? How much has it cost you so far, right? From a time or energy perspective.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I feel like if you're not willing to sacrifice everything, then you're not going to be in a position to actually achieve what you want. As far as on a grand scale. So, as far as sacrifice, what does it cost? Everything, time,
Mm,
relationships, you know, time with your children, my son, stress, lack of sleep, anxiety, variety of different things.
mm,
But I feel like, that's what comes with it, right? Where it's like, a lot of times people want success or what they deem as success, but they don't understand what it takes to come with that, right? Like isolation, relationships with friends change. You lose relationships across the line. You gain hate. It's all of that is part of it, right? And that's something that people don't fully understand. It's like when you pray for rain, you got to expect mud too,
hmm
but we never really are prepared for mud. Like if you really think about it, like there's no preparation for mud. Like what I mean, we have preparation for rain, raincoats, umbrellas, different tents, variety of different things, but nobody's really prepared for mud because you don't really understand how to deal with that until you're actually in it, right? And then it's like, no, now you got to figure out how to navigate these, soiled lands. So for me personally, that is everything, right? But it's also becomes part of your life. So you just adapt it. So it's not really too much of a sacrifice because you just learn to deal with it. Like after a while, a soldier just learns to deal with the circumstances that he's in. So it's not really a sacrifice for him after a while because that's becomes normalized. Right. So it's like, all right, yeah, I mean, I could say like, not sleeping, staying up, you know, working at 2 o'clock in the morning to a traditional person that would be a sacrifice. And at one point in time, it probably was a sacrifice. But I've been doing this for over 15 years. Even before this, that was my lifestyle. It was never a balanced life. So I feel like after a while, those sacrifices just become normalized, and that's part of your day to day. And you don't really even know the difference between what somebody would deem as an extreme life or tremendous sacrifices, as opposed to this is just what you do for work.
mm. So for me, sacrifice, I think it goes back to the word sacros, which means to make sacred. So when I think about if I'm going to spend my time, and I'm gonna do something, the way for me to make that sacred is for me to actually do something real with it, right? Like if it was some sacred time that I was supposed to spend with a child, right? I want to make sure that thing that I'm exchanging for that time is worth it. Right. So I think it's more so about just cementing everything that you do because we go exchange our time and energy for something. And most people time is just not sacred because it's not worth anything. They're not exchanging it for something of return, right? And I think that that's an important thing because a lot of people are busy, right? But the thing that they're spending their time doing is not worth the investment of the time that they give, right? And they're giving themselves away and they slaving themselves away and they don't know how to get out the cycle. And the biggest thing that people are looking for is purpose. They're looking for direction. They don't know who they are. There's people with titles, but I've been telling people because I've been seeing a lot of the struggles that the sisters in politics been having with them being recognized, right, fully by white dominant society or these institutions. And I seen one sister, she was like, I got an MBA, right? I was in the military, I was a general, I did all of this. She was just listing off and going and going and going. And she like, they still don't respect it. And my whole thing is your title, your schooling, All of that, that's not going to get you respect in society if you don't represent yourself in a sense of having knowledge of self. That's the consciousness, because you're speaking on how they view you, but the double consciousness is, how do you see yourself? Beyond your titles, beyond those things, do you know who you are? Right? Because when my whole thing is, when I walk in a room, I know who I am. Right? My hat says it, my walk says it, my talk says it, my name, my reputation. It says that bro got knowledge of self. What's your foundation of knowledge of self?
I mean, it starts at home. I think that that's what most people, how a child learns from his parents. So that was something that, I was always raised in my household as far as learning about culture, learning about, people that were examples of excellence in our communities, learning about entrepreneurship, you know, learning about finances, religion, culture, diet, all of these different things. That's what all kind of like, it was like a gumbo of different things between my dad and my mom. And then of course, having just older siblings, right? So the music that they listening to, the fashion, everything like that, and then going outside and then just experiencing different things from friends, older people, environment, hip hop, watching movies, all of these different things kind of I think, make who you are as a person. But that's how, it was for me. And like, what I mean, I kind of grew up a little different where I grew up in a in a strict home, but I didn't really have a lot of rules, if
Mm.
that makes any sense. So like, like strict as far as like strict on not smoking, not drinking, very religious family, but I was in clubs at 14 years old. Like, what I mean? I would never have like a curfew or anything like that. So, I always could really do whatever I wanted to do, but I never did a lot of things because I guess just the foundation that I was had, and I just was always confident and felt comfortable in myself. I didn't have to fit in. Like, what I mean? I feel like a lot of times people do things to kind of fit in, but for me, I never felt the need to kind of fit into a crowd. Like, I was always kind of like, just on my own vibe as like, just pretty much a loner and be with my friends. But I didn't really care if I had to be with 20 people or if I had to be by myself. I'm still like that. So that was kind of like, my environment as far as, my upbringing and being able to receive information at a young child. And then that just carried on and just, carried with me to this day.
How do you see yourself as a black man? You think you a black man or a black man?
What's a black man?
You know what a black man is.
I'm asking you. I want to get your definition.
I'm a black man.
What's that mean?
That's somebody that I am pro real culture. You know,
What's real culture?
I'm explaining. Foundation is knowledge and family, right? A man don't have knowledge and don't have family values, I can't respect him at all. If you don't have knowledge of self as a foundation, meaning know who you are, right? Knowing your past, your present, right? And having a vision for the future, right? You should be doing some sort of knowledge and understanding your roots, right? The first study is the study of your family. Where do you come from? Who are your family? Who is their lineage? Right? Then understanding deeper history, who is your people? Then understanding true history, not his story that they tell us, right? Because we have to go through a process of decolonizing our mind, right? And that decolonization of our mind a lot of times is wiping away a lot of things that the system told us. And it really gonna be from foundation. What does your father teach you? You know what I'm saying? What does your uncles teach you? Right? A lot of times that's where you get in that cipher of real knowledge. Brothers telling you, who you are and where you come from. So for me, if you don't have that foundation of knowledge of self, it's hard to see you as an ally because there's a lot of things that you don't know that I would have to explain to you. Well, people who know, they have an understanding. Oh, that's God body. He be moving like that. I understand. He understand the way the world is and how the world works. You feel me? I see you out there, Keys. I get you. That's a black man, black man. And then there's some people, they got a big old, white Jesus on their arm and they don't have no foundation. You feel me? And they figure it out as they go along sometimes, but that foundation is what makes sure you don't get lost, right? You might veer too much to the left, and then that foundation brings you back over here.
Peace Family 19 Keys reporting live. I wanted to let you all know about a giveaway that we're doing for InvestFest. I have 5 general admission tickets and I have 5 VIPs and I have 1 giveaway for a one-on-one coaching session with me. All you got to do is join High Level Club. Comment High Level, apply today. Do not want to miss VIP. You do not want to miss InvestFest. And you definitely don't want to miss the one-on-one with me. Come tap in with the gods. Peace to the family.